very much. This is Daniel Choi from Pathway Intermediate Vietnam. And above all, thank you very much for all of your time today. I believe since we started for the Vietnam business under the Pathway Intermediates is over the 10 years. And then we have been co-work with our customer continuously. And then since we launched our Pathway Intermediate Vietnam over 5 years, and then we're closely looking for with our customers and then try to give the right solution in Vietnam. And then Pathway Intermediates, we like to deliver pure science, and all of our products are research dedicated, and we believe that our future will be to finding the pathway of the metabolic way. So all of our products are naturally selected to support for the customer global. And today, what we like to talk about Bacteriophage and Probe-Bac is also considered to have customer needs globally and also local needs from the Vietnam, which will be a very good options to consider to alternate antibiotics or to control the antibiotic resistance that we are facing right now. And for the Pathway Intermediates is a group company under the Easy Group. And then we are working with Optifarm, which is a family company. And Optifarm developed the Bacteriophage. And that's why we invite Optifarm, the CEO, Dr. Hyun Kim, and also director of the Bacteriophage business, Dr. Youngju Kim. And during this time, I would be glad if we can learn about a new concept to control about bacteria and antibiotic resistance problems. And then we're gonna have a good chance to talk about deeply working with our speakers. And again, thank you very much for all of your times, and then hope you enjoy. Come on. Thank you. This is the last session. So I'm gonna have a very brief informations connected to Dr. Fang's and Dr. Hyun Kim's. That's how we could control for the bacteria and how we could control for the antibiotic resistance bacteria and how we can prevent for the regulation from the governments to narrowing down to use antibiotics. Moreover, also considering for the food safety and for the consumers. So for the Probe-Bac, as explained from the Dr. Hyun Kim, it's a cocktail bacteriophage, which could be a very effective alternative to the antibiotics. And these are the contents that I like to look over to about for the brief introduction about bacteriophage, how it works with a short video clips. Moreover, I wanna talk about the antibiotic resistance that we're facing right now, and also the bacteriophage, which is very effective tool to control that antibiotic resistance problem, as well as how we could alternate the antibiotics to control target bacteria. So for the bacteriophage, I like to share a short video clips. So when I apply for the bacteriophage, from the tail parts, they could recognize the cell surface of the bacteria specifically, and they're gonna produce many bacteriophage inside of the bacteria. And then at the end, bacteriophage will gonna excrete the enzyme so-called endolysin and cut the cell surface. As a result, it can kill the target bacteria. The thing is that bacteriophage is very specific. It can target only for the target bacteria. For example, for the Salmonella bacteriophage for the Salmonella, E. coli bacteriophage for the E. coli, and Clostridium bacteriophage for the Clostridium, which will be the main difference with any other solutions to kill the target bacteria specifically. And the reason that I mentioned for the E. coli, Salmonella, Clostridium, that's the major bacteria which cause the enteric disease from the livestock animals. So these are some example shows that's supported from the Optifarms. They verified that for the poultry bacterial disease, about 79% are coming from the Salmonella, E. coli, as well as Clostridium. And similar as the poultry, also for the swine, it's quite similar. That's over about 80% are resulted from the Salmonella, E. coli, and Clostridium. In other words, if we can control for those major enteric disease bacteria, we could control the major enteric disease from our animals. But we know we already have one of the options that we could consider to control the bacteria, which is antibiotics. Colistin, halpino, amoxicillin, BMD, penicillin were all different kinds of the antibiotics is commonly used to control the bacteria, to control for the disease. There is no doubt that it is quite effective, but also there are some side effects we already know. First, antibiotic will gonna control not only just for the target specific bacteria generally. Generally, it will gonna target and affect not only for the harmful bacteria, also beneficial bacteria, which could cause the gut microbiota problems. So it is not good for the animals. Moreover, whatever the antibiotics that we use, that's we also facing the antibiotic resistance problems, which means that even though we use different type of the antibiotics, which will not that effective right now or pretty soon. So as Dr. Fang shared, and then also Dr. Kim shares, that antibiotic resistance problems and also for the human safety, we're very worried. So many countries started to restrict or planning to restrict for the use of the antibiotics, all including in Vietnam. But not just as a producer, since we are working in our fields right now, as also consumer, we know that's the problems which is happening right now, that antibiotic resistance problem and antibiotic residue problems. So we are concerning to how we can control. But these are one of some examples that we are facing right now, not just talking about the concern about the safety, also about talking about the resistance happening in our animals. So these are the general list that we can find from the poultry farms to control the E. coli. And if we just modify simply with the figures, more than 90% are showing the antibiotic resistance, which means that even though we are using different type of the antibiotics, it shows not that sensitivity effect. And same for the Salmonella to use the poultry farms. So these are the common lists that we can find. And as we simplify, more than 90% are showing to resistance against to that antibiotics. And same thing happened for the Clostridium. These are the general lists that we can find from the Vietnam in poultry farms. But interestingly, it shows about 100% showing the antibiotic resistance, which can assume that Clostridium is very difficult to handle. Also, even though we saw some of the antibiotic list, which was sensitivity, however, it can happen for the antibiotic resistance in very future, or it could happen right now. And same thing happened for the swine sites in Vietnam. These are the just general list that we can find to control E. coli. But about 90% are showing the resistance against that antibiotic. And same for the Salmonella, and same for the E. coli. More than 80 to 90% are showing the resistance even though we are using all different type of antibiotics. And one of the mode of actions which cause the antibiotic resistance is a biofilm. So as you know, that's antibiotic resistance, there are many different type of the mode of actions. And biofilm, this could cause strictly very resistance against to use the antibiotic. So the bacteria, which if they produce the biofilms, that's antibiotic cannot enter to the bacteria, which cannot work to control the target bacteria. And if there is a biofilm, it can make more than 1,000 resistance, which does not produce the biofilm. And I will explain further more about how we can control for the biofilms. But bacteriophage is one of the very good effective to degrade by their enzyme and then work well to control antibiotic resistance. So when we choose the alternative of antibiotics, when we like to control this antibiotic resistance, we have to consider several factors. First, of course, it could control pathogenic bacteria effectively. Of course, we have to think about the food safety, if it's safe or not. And then sure, we have to consider about improve the growth performance cost effectively. We have to consider all these factors when we choose the solutions. So considering all those factors, bacteriophage is one of the very good options to consider. And for our Probe-Bac, our bacteriophage is carefully selected to control Salmonella, E. coli, as well as Clostridium, which cause the major enteric disease. It's not a single bacteriophage, it's a concentrate cocktail bacteriophage. So it could cover a high spectrum to control for those target bacteria. And for our bacteriophage is selected from where it is, from the diseased animal, from the wastewater, from the slaughterhouse, or from the farms. There will be a bacteria which cause the enteric disease, and we can select the bacteriophage from those samples. And naturally, it has a huge number, more than 10 to the 30 particles. So what we are doing is we're checking identification of the bacteriophage, checking for the morphology, for the shape of the bacteria, and protein analysis. And we are doing even for the whole genome sequencing when we select our bacteriophage, which means that we can know to A to Z information for our bacteriophage that we are using. And since we're going to apply in the animals, since we're going to apply in the feeds, we have to consider about pH stability as well as heat stability. From Optifarm, we carefully selected bacteriophage, which is pH stable as well as heat stable. And then during the production process, we also do the matrix coating, mixing with carriers. As a result, we could have a stable bacteriophage. And for the efficacy tests, as Dr. Kim mentioned, and thanks to Optifarm, we are continuously checking our phage is working right now, and then prevention for the bacteria, which comes for the near futures, so-called real-time upgrade system. So checking for the regular monitoring to the farms, we can monitor what's going on right now, and then we can prepare what is going to happen in your future. And as a result, the Optifarm collected more than 3,000 strains of the bacteriophage, characterized more than 1,000 strains, and identified more than 500 bacteriophage. Which means that if there is new bacteria comes out, we can just match with our bacteriophage library, and we can upgrade right away. And then moreover, we have been continuously importing for the pathogenic bacteria or the sample from the various countries, including Vietnam. So we're preventing and then we're doing localization. And that's the actual strength of our bacteriophage. Selecting from the disease animal or from the farms, that's our commercially meaningful. And for the phage library, and then making localizations. And we can do the Vietnamizations. And we are keep working with our current customer as well as our potential customers in Vietnam. And these are the characteristics of the Probe-Bac, our bacteriophage, the pH stability. As I mentioned, since we're going to apply in the animals, we have to consider if our bacteriophage in Probe-Bac is stable in various pH conditions. As you can see, for our Salmonella phage, E. coli phage, and Clostridium phage is very stable from pH 2 to pH 7. And for the heat stability, also for our Salmonella phage and E. coli phage and Clostridium phage is very stable from 60 to 90 Celsius. But considering for the life cycle of the bacteriophage, for one life cycle, generally it takes 30 to 40 minutes for the bacteriophage. which means that after dose cycle, we can recover very fastly. And for the biofilm degradation, as I mentioned, this is one of the mode of action which caused the antibiotic resistance from the bacteria. And Probe-Bac shows to decrease the biofilm against the Salmonella typhimurium about 57%, and for the E. coli, 44%. And this is how the bacteriophage could degrade those biofilms. So the phage, they can excrete the enzyme, and then they can degrade the biofilm, and then they could target for the target bacteria. And there are also considerations, and some paper shows that bacteriophage may have a synergistic effect to use the antibiotics. So Optifam recently also evaluates if there is a synergistic effect of using antibiotic as well as bacteriophage. So as you can see, this figure shows that we applied antibiotics in 96 wells to increase the dosage. And for these lines, we applied the bacteriophage and increasing the dosage. And for here, we checked the synergistic effect of antibiotic as well as bacteriophage, depends on the dose response. And these are the results. And then we check with amoxicillins, with Salmonella typhimurium and Enteritidis and Clostridium, as well as we also check with flufenco for these trials. And as you can see, for example, we increase antibiotic dosage for these plates. And for here, we apply the increase of the bacteriophage dosage. And then just comparing with itself for the antibiotic treatments, when we apply with the bacteriophage, it are showing more synergistic effect to control for the target bacteria. And not only for the target Salmonella typhimurium, also for the Salmonella enteritidis, also for the Clostridium perfringens, and against to the amoxicillin or for phenicals, it shows the synergistic effect to control with antibiotic as well as using bacteriophage together. So thinking about the mode of action for the using the antibiotics, for example, the amoxicillin is classed as penicillins, and the flufenicals considered class as amphenicals. So each has a different mode of action to control the target bacteria. For example, it can inhibit the cell synthesis of the protein in the bacteria, or it can also disrupt the cell membrane, for example, for the penicillin classification. Since it can attack with that mode of actions, and also using the bacteriophage, it has a different mode of actions. It will gonna specifically recognize the target bacteria and kill directly for those target bacteria. As a result, we can have a synergistic effect. Moreover, we also saw that bacteriophage can degrade the biofilms. In this regards, it's gonna have a good synergy effect if we use together. In this regards, we could consider to use how we can use the bacteriophage. If the person who like to alternate the antibiotics, yes, it is very good option to alternate the antibiotics to the bacteriophage to control for the enteric disease bacteria. If the customer would like to use together with antibiotics, it can have a synergistic effect. And then it will gonna control even for the antibiotic resistance bacteria. Moreover, it can replace any other solution that customer are using right now, which is not just effective solution, it will be a cost-effective solution. And these are some examples how bacteriophage in Probe-Bac could even control the Clostridium, which showing the antibiotic resistance. So we compare with tetracycline, amoxicillin, oxytetracycline, which showing the antibiotic resistance against to that bacteria, Clostridium. And as you can see, even though we apply that type of the antibiotics, it doesn't show the clear zones, which means that it was showing the antibiotic resistance. However, when we apply our bacteriophage, it was even controlling that antibiotic resistance bacteria effectively. And in this regards, I'd like to share one of our in vivo trials in poultry. We have been done different species, but because of the limitation time, I want to share only one in vivo trials. But all of our in vivo trials is checking and evaluating if we can compare with antibiotics to control bacteria, or if we can effectively control against to any solutions such as probiotics, such as organic acids. Different type of the feed additive solution, if we can effectively control compared to solutions. And this trial was done in the research farm in Iran. And then total 1,760 one-day-old broiler chicks were used for these trials. And to check verification if phage could be effectively controlled for the bacteria, and then if it can control well compared to acidifier or the antibiotics, we compare with the antibiotic as well as the organic axis. And then moreover, we like to verify specifically, so we did for the even for the challenge trial. So for the treatments, we do have a non-challenge group, and then we do have a challenge group with a Salmonella enteritis applying orally. And then for the non-challenge group, we compare with two different dosage of the Probe-Bac, and then we compare with two different type of the acidifiers that are using in Iran. And then for the negative control, which is a Salmonella enteritis challenge groups, we compare with the basal diets. 40 ppm is of the animal flaxseed, which is commonly used in Iran. And then two different types dose response of the Probe-Bac, and then two different types of acidifier, which we compare in the non-negative control. And looking at the growth performance compared to the non-challenge negative control and positive control challenge group, looking at the blue bar is ADG, and then the yellow points is FCR. As you can see, after we challenged the groups, the ADG was decreased, FCR was increased statistically, which means that this experiment is well designed. And looking at the growth performance of the positive groups compared to the basal diets, when we apply bacteriophage with a dose response, as you can see, the growth performance was statistically improved. And they even compare with the two different type of acidifier, it was showing similar effect or even the worse effect compared to the basal diets. Just looking at the growth performance for the positive controls, bacteriophage have a good effects looking at the growth performance. And for the growth performance of the negative control, which is challenge groups, we checked after we challenged the animals. As you can see, the ADG and FCR was decreased. And then when we apply the antibiotics to the negative control, there was some recovery. And then we also checked with comparing it with the bacteriophage dose response, and then two different types of acidifiers. For the bacteriophage treatments, compared to even antibiotic with 0.05% lower dosage, having similar effects or even numerically better, 1 point improved compared for the FCR. And then when we apply the high dosage, as you can see, it was showing even better than antibiotic treatments. For the organic acids, as you can see, it was improving some, but compared to the antibiotic or compared to the bacteriophage, it doesn't have a better effects for the two different type of acidifier. But that's about the growth performance. What we have to look on this trial is about Salmonella number. Since we challenge the Salmonella, what we need to check is what will be the differences after we challenge the animals, how we can compare with the antibiotic efficacy against the bacteriophage for two different types of the organic acids. And as you can see for the Salmonella challenge group, when we apply the Salmonella compared to the non-challenge group, to challenge group, the Salmonella number was increased. And then comparing it with the positive control, looking at the Salmonella group for the positive control, as you can see, there was a certain level of Salmonella comes out. However, when we apply 0.05% or 0.1%, depends on the dose response, the Salmonella number decreased. However, for the acidifiers, there was no better effects compared to the bacteriophage. Moreover, we also look on for the lactobacillus, which is considered as a beneficial bacteria, since we assume that if we can control to reduce the harmful bacteria, we can expect to increase the beneficial bacteria. So as you can see, for the positive control to bacteriophage treatments, by reducing the harmful bacteria populations, interestingly, the beneficial bacteria, lactobacillus, number was increased. And more important point is the negative, the challenge groups. So after we challenged compared to the positive controls, the Salmonella enteritidis number was increased significantly. And then when we applied the antibiotics, there was some reductions. And then we compare with the dose response of the Probe-Bac, 0.05%, 0.1%. Even with the 0.05%, which is a lower dosage, it was showing even better to compare to antibiotic to control the Salmonella enteritidis number. And for the acidifier, there was some effects, but compared to the bacteriophage, as you can see, the number was not dramatically controlled against to the bacteriophage treatment. And similar to the previous positive control treatments, when we look on for the beneficial bacteria, lactobacillus, compared to the negative control, it was improved by using the antibiotics. However, using bacteriophage was increasing more for the beneficial bacteria population, which could consider as a probiotic effect. So from this trial, to summarize, to controlling the Salmonella enteritidis number or Salmonella numbers, even using the bacteriophage with a two different dosage, was having better effects compared to the antibiotics and lofloxacins and two different type of organic acids. To summarize for our Probe-Bac, we do have two different type of the bacteriophage products, so-called Probe-Bac PE, which is a poultry additions. We could cover more than target for the 40 target bacteria, including the Salmonella types, E. coli types, and Clostridium. And also we do have a Probe-Bac SC, which is a swine additions, which could target for the 39 target bacteria, controlling the Salmonella, E. coli, and Clostridium. And this is our practical recommended dosage. Our regular recommended dosage is 0.05 to 0.1%, which is a 500 gram to 1 kg per metric ton of feeds. But considering for the species, considering for the life cycle of the each species stage, we divide for the breeder and layer with a 0.03%, for the broiler 0.05%. And for the swines, for the piglets, we do recommend for the 0.1%, and for the grower and sow for the 0.05% for the animals. And thank you very much for the attention. That was about Probe-Bac, and then as well as for our bacteriophage. We're very pleased to have further questions regarding all of our slides from Dr. Fang, so as Dr. Hyun Kim and me, myself. So feel free to ask any questions.